All right, everyone. Trump is keeping the government shut down, and he shows no signs of backing off. And by the way, that's a good thing, because at this point, let's say that Trump were to blink right now. Say, okay, you know, fuck it. I'll get the wall funding some other time. If he tries to morally grandstand, he would alienate so many of his own voters. His approval would be sub 35, probably. He'd end up a lame duck. He might, at that point, he might end up getting impeached simply because there'd be nothing really to stop the Republicans from jumping ship and saying, well, you know, go ahead and investigate him. We'll wait until the next guy comes along. We'll run Jeff Flake for the presidency or something, and he'll say, we're sorry about the orange meanie thing. It would do very badly if he were to blink right now. I suggest he keeps it shut down until the Democrats blink, which will eventually happen, and here's why. Pelosi doesn't want to negotiate. Schumer, a little bit more. Some of the Senate Democrats would probably join him. Nancy Pelosi, however, doesn't want to. She will face increasing calls from within her own party to unshut down the government, because the Democrats will say, hey, you know, some Democrat now says, hey, my constituents are tired of this. A lot of government workers in my district or something, they're protesting outside my office, they're telling me, what the fuck are you doing? You need to give Trump his wall funding. Keep in mind, though, let's say he wins this round, he gets his $5 billion. This is not all of the funding that you need for the wall. And yes, that includes the so-called fence, which is a wall, that he is now proposing, which is basically thick steel beams with plates at the top. I think it's like a 20 or 25-foot barrier. That's considerably better than what's along most of the U.S. border right now, and therein lies the thing. The $5 billion that he hopes to appropriate is a drop in the bucket compared to what the whole border would cost to entirely retrofit. What the $5 billion gets you is upgraded border control stations. It gets you upgraded entryways, that is the areas where travel is allowed to and from, to check visas more. You'd have more staff there, you'd have more fortification there, so something doesn't go wrong. And then to upgrade a few segments of the rest of the border, which is vast, to more modern standards, because there are several kinds of border defense in place at different points. The best defended kind of look like what he's already planning to build elsewhere. Then you've got areas where it's basically a double high fence, 2 layers with razor wire at the top and some electronic monitoring. But then you have some areas that date to the 90s and before that are little more than an embankment with a single fence along it that someone can easily jump. That is not a coherent border defense system. And it's those areas and the open gaps in the border, more or less, where people are coming in. If you can defend those, then the rest take care of themselves. Once people realize, hey, yeah, walls actually work, I think they'd be more receptive to allocating more money. But this, even if he gets a complete victory on this token, you've got to understand this is not the entire build the wall MAGA thing. It's just part of the funding he needs. The total is over $20 billion, not $5 billion. That's why when people are saying, well, we're going to raise $1 billion and GoFundMe in order to build the border wall ourselves, it's never going to happen. It wouldn't be even enough just to upgrade the entryways within the border, or just to build like 100 miles maybe of upgraded fence, and you'd be stretching it, because then again, you pay taxes, and then GoFundMe takes a cut, and then Congress can always appropriate it for something else. You can't give it directly to the president, have him appropriate it. President can't take gifts, remember? It's a violation of U.S. law. You can't give it to Trump and say, oh, here, Trump, have $1 billion. Here, go spend it on your wall. Can't do it. It's impossible. There's no legal methodology behind it. You have to give it to the House. You'd have to have the House agree to appropriate it. And the House is run by the Democrats right now, and Nancy Pelosi, she'd take that $1 billion and, I don't know, sell more weapons to terrorists or something like she wants to do. I do find it funny. All they have to do to pay for this and have a zero sum is cut off some aid to a few countries, and that's exactly what Trump is threatening to do. He's saying, well, okay, not going to give me my wall? I'm going to shut off aid to all of Central America. That's about $5 billion a year. Why don't we just do that? By the way, why are we giving aid to countries that won't cooperate with us at all? People have enough of a problem with countries that do, like, you shut off aid to Pakistan or something. Like Egypt. Kind of cooperative, but not exactly a strong U.S. ally. Would be a stronger one if it hadn't been for Obama trying to overthrow their government. But, we give them aid. Or you'd think of Israel. Now, we spar at this point sometimes with Netanyahu and stuff, but at the very least there's some cooperation and conversation going on. Do we cooperate regularly with Guatemala and El Salvador? Do they really give a fuck what the U.S. government says? No, they don't care. They're like, yeah, we'll give you our tired and poor. Go ahead and take them all because we don't want them here. We don't have functioning economies because we're socialistic. That's what we should be doing. The U.S. should reassert the Monroe Doctrine and expand it a little bit and say, oh, so, socialism has no place in our hemisphere. We're going to guard the people of the Americas from the evils of far leftism. That would be a good century to come. Yeah, make it the Pax Americana a little bit like that. That'd be good. Instead of wasting our time over in the Middle East, maybe we should mind things in our own backyard and stop pissing on people here and try to liberate them so that they don't need to illegally immigrate then. Their country would be stable. They'd have jobs and shit if it weren't for people like Maduro or the Castros and idiots like them. Bringing basically, some of the weirdest ideologies of Eurasia over here for malevolent reasons, just to grind people down and be tin horns because of communism or whatever. It's better than capitalism because I can steal people's money and it's more legal. Trump is threatening to shut off aid and he's saying, no, I'm not going to ease up on the government shutdown. Let me ask the Democrats this because they're foaming in rage right now. What impetus does he have to unshut down the government? You're not giving him what he wants. You're not negotiating with him, and he'd probably be willing to. Why doesn't Pelosi get pressured to talk to him in a closed session, and then he comes in and says, look, you want to legalize some of these people, that's fine with me. You want the veteran dreamers to stay. Okay, now I'll sign off on that, on amnesty. Go ahead and grant it. But you're giving me the wall funding, and then we can talk about the rest later, and the same thing will probably happen again. But the thing is, they don't want to give Trump a victory. They know that it solidifies his 2020 chances monumentally among at least his core fans if he gets even just this one installment of wall funding. That was his most major promise, at least to his core fans. For the rest of us, it was, I'm going to tear up the ACA mandate and I'm going to lower taxes. He did both of those things. That's why he's got a lot of center-right and libertarian soft support that is reluctant to back the Democrats that look like they don't care about the country. Oh my God, it's so terrible we'd have border defenses. Oh my, you want to spend money on this. Why don't you want to spend money on bombing people like Obama always wanted to do? Yeah, no, I'm glad we're getting out of Syria. Get us out of Afghanistan. Withdraw our troops from the whole Middle East. You can save your $5 billion. It'd be wonderful. I think it'd be a great time. We're restructuring the way in which we do business. Let's mind the Americas. This is our fucking hemisphere. If someone wanted to invade us by land, they're not going to do it from Asia. They're not going to do it from Africa. From the Middle East. Yes, Assad's going to build aircraft carriers and start bombing the coast. It's going to bomb New York City into a pile of ashes. It's never going to happen, dude. In fact, the only nation that seems enticed by the idea of using sub-warfare and nukes against us, North Korea, what did they just do? They're beginning to reconnect the roads and rail between the two Koreas. Now, they're under sanction, and so it can't be officiated, but they can physically rejoin these things. They could start moving back and forth between the two countries. All you need is a formal peace declaration between the two Koreas. By the way, Trump would probably get the Nobel Prize at that point. And then when he gets it, he should go up on stage, drop his drawers, and take a shit on it, for all it's worth, after Obama got one for killing fewer people than George W. For not being Bush, he got a Medal of Honor. It was very funny to see. That's about all. Peace out.